Revealed: how to avoid the inevitability of injury in 3 easy secrets. Hey guys, Sarah Pitts here from mostmotion with a new video for every enthusiast who wants to keep feeling great no matter how hard you train and without having to suffer the frustration of nagging injuries. So this is a typical journey of somebody who comes into exercise. So they start their training and they improve, they start to feel great, and then eventually somehow they get injured, whether it's from a gradual pain or whether it's just a sudden pain. Their training starts to decline, they start to go through the frustration of being injured, so they stop training, deal with the injury, and then they come back to the top. And then because they've had an injury before, and that is the biggest way to predict another injury, then we keep training the way we have done, and then we hit another injury. So then we kind of yo-yo up and down like this as we go through our journey, hitting these injuries more and more frequently towards the end of our journey. And then eventually we get so sick of fighting against these injuries that we kind of just settle for the fact that we have these injuries, they're never going to go away, and then we stop doing the sport we love, we find a different sport, and then we start the journey all over again in a different sport that doesn't aggravate the injury. But ultimately, we settle for these injuries and we're miserable, okay? Now, there's 2 types of injuries. One is a gradual onset of pain. So you kind of have a little niggly pain, kind of comes out of nowhere. You wake up one morning, all of a sudden it's a small pain, and then because it doesn't really stop you doing anything, we carry on training, and this is the point here. So we hit this little point, we've been training for ages, we've been making loads of good progress, and then all of a sudden we start to feel this pain and we go down the slope here. Now, we'll keep training to the point where the pain is actually stopping us training. And that is the point, again, at the bottom of this dip here, where we are miserable because the training has stopped. And that is the priority. With everybody who does exercise, the priority is just to keep training. We love it. We use it because it keeps us sane most of the time. And we use it to distract ourselves from the frustrations and the stresses of general life. And when we're injured, it means that we can't do that. So we do keep forcing ourselves to keep pushing through this pain and hoping that it will go away on its own. Or we have some sort of problem, like we fall off of bikes, or we, I don't know, God forbid, get hit by a bus or something like that. And so rather than being this gradual pain down here, it's like we've been training like this, and all of this is covered over, it's hidden, and then we hit the bit that's hidden, and then we crash to the bottom. Okay, so either way, depending on which injury you have, it doesn't really matter whether it's sudden, like a broken bone, or whether it's a gradual onset, like, I don't know, sciatica or something. Then eventually we just end up at the bottom of this dip here. Now, when we want to get out of this dip, we look for everything we can find on the internet. And if you look for conventional wisdom, then that will dictate that we look at the symptom. And in doing that, we can try really hard. We will strengthen stuff, we will stretch stuff, and then we will try our best to get up this slope. Okay, it's a lot of effort, it takes a lot of time, and most of the time we get a little bit of progress. Sometimes we'll get right to the top here, and we'll feel like the problem is solved. The symptom has gone away. But muscle tightness is the real cause of injuries, okay? It will keep you in pain even after you've recovered from a broken bone. It will keep you in pain even after you've recovered from a car crash. And muscle tightness is like an iceberg. So we have all this muscle tightness down here that doesn't cause us any pain. It just builds and builds and builds and builds and builds. It can be building throughout our whole lives. And then eventually we'll hit pain here. And this is the little bit of pain that we have that's sticking out the top. This is the bit that we can feel. This is how we know we've got a problem. So most elements of conventional wisdom, whether it's a treatment style or whether it's mobility style, will just try and deal with this symptom. Okay, so we deal with the symptom until the pain has gone. But we never dealt with all of this stuff under here that's actually causing the problem. So even if we make it to the top of this hill here, eventually we will do something again that will lead to us having another nagging problem, or we'll go over on our ankles or something like that, and eventually we will collapse down to the bottom of this dip here. And that is why our journey through our sporting lives is this constant yo-yo of up and down, being injured, not being injured, being able to train for small periods of time, and then not being able to train because we have to deal with injuries. So it's almost like conventional wisdom is giving you a slide rather than a ladder to get up this hill. So you know what it's like when you're a kid and you run up the slide. That's essentially the amount of effort it takes to use conventional wisdom to get to the top here. Now, eventually, after we've been through this process a few times, or even the first time, depends on who you are and what injury you're suffering with, you can just get tired, more and more and more tired of the amount of effort it takes using conventional wisdom to get to the top, to get rid of the symptom and deal with the issues. Now, because we never deal with the whole amount of muscle tightness, then what tends to happen is that we just end up getting one symptom after another. And that's why it's faster and faster and faster that we get more and more injuries, more and more issues, and that leads to us quitting our sport. So eventually we just get tired of the effort it takes to run up the slide or to get past that injury, and we just settle at the bottom of the dip. We accept our injury, we accept our knee pain, back pain, whatever it is, and then we start to avoid all of the things that will make it worse. So then we might start with a whole different sport, and again we'll go up through this initial improvement stage. We'll be really, really happy, but then all of the underlying problems that we've been avoiding, all of this muscle tightness down here, will start to create more and more problems. So again, we will end up being injured at some point. It's inevitable because we never dealt with this problem down here. Now, most of conventional wisdom, most mobility types, most treatment types completely ignore the fact that muscle tightness, muscle fibers have a twist in them. And when muscle fibers get tight, that twist gets tighter and tighter and tighter. And because that twist is creating joint position change, it's creating all sorts of compensations in your body, and the conventional wisdom doesn't deal with that, that's why conventional wisdom doesn't work for a lot of people. But I have discovered a secret formula that bypasses this conventional wisdom and means you can intervene much, much earlier, dealing with all of this muscle tightness down here, unwinding the spiral in the tissue that's creating all of that muscle tightness. We can intervene much earlier to prevent injury, and we can recover from injury much, much faster. Now, I call it applied variety of movement, and it forms the foundations of my groundbreaking approach that I call the SMART methods. I'm going to spell that here for you because it's double T. Okay, now the SMART methods are like a power-up in a video game. Okay, I'm giving you extra powers to avoid all of these dips. Okay, now it's like I've given you a ladder to run along with, and I'll give you as an individual that ladder so that you can bypass all of this dip here and you can just jump straight over there. Okay, so you can just jump and avoid all of these dips here. Now, as an individual, there's only so much you can do to help yourself, because the problem with muscle tightness is that repetition is the cause. Okay, so if we do anything like sitting, running, cycling, weight training, Pilates, yoga, anything that's repetitive, so you do the same thing in the correct way all of the time, that is repetition. And if we don't deal with this repetition, we're going to keep causing all of this muscle tightness. Now, you as an individual can only do so much to help with that. Don't get me wrong, there's a lot you can do, but there's only so much you can do if you're doing lots of repetition. So these ladders that I can give to you as an individual, I can also give to your coach so that they can stop you hitting these dips as well. So they can put these SMART methods into how they training so that the repetition is a lot less, so the muscle tightness created is a lot less, and therefore your likelihood of injury is also a lot less. Now, it's not to say that you're going to stop getting injured completely, because you may well still fall off your bike. Now, when you fall off your bike and your body is very pliable and very supple, it leads to less severe injuries, which is great. But we also need the therapists who are skilled in these acute pains to help you jump from the bottom here up to the top here. And the smart methods will help them to help you too. So the true power of the smart methods, though, is when all of these ladders are used together. And you can, as an individual, jump across these injury problems. Your coaches can stop the repetition that's creating the injury problems in the first place. And if you happen to fall down and you need a therapist, then the therapist can help you jump back to the top much, much faster than you did do before. Okay? And this, by working together, this is how we revolutionize the fitness industry and stop injuries being inevitable. So here's what I'd like all of you exercise enthusiasts to take away from this video. The first thing is that injuries are only inevitable if we settle for conventional wisdom, okay? Conventional wisdom is far more effort than it's worth for the results that you get, and the smart methods are a faster and easier solution that are a whole lot less effort. So the big takeaway here is that you can keep feeling great no matter how hard you train, and without having to suffer the frustration of nagging injuries. So if you're one of those exercise enthusiasts whose number one desire is to really make this work for you, I'm going to suggest that you check out my Smart Club membership at smartclub.com. And again, I'm just going to write that on here so you can do that. There will be a link in the description as well. So you can instantly train hard and feel great. So make sure you go and check out smartclub.com. It will really help you bypass all of these dips in your fitness journey. You can keep feeling great, you can keep making progress, and you can start unlocking the potential of your fitness training, and all the success that you want is there for you to have without this frustrating journey. So go and check out smartclub.com. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you again next time.